All right, folks, so during the holiday season, I think we all spend a little more, leading to a higher demand for cash and use of ABM/ATMs. However, the BOJ's latest ABM performance report indicates that some banks have not fully met the ABM standards. Independent analyst and business writer David Rose joins us to examine the potential implications for customers and businesses, as well as the alternatives that could reduce reliance on the machines. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Smile. How are you?
Morning, Neville. Morning, Simone.
Hi, David. How
All
you
the very
doing?
best to you and your family for the holiday season. What are the standards? And are the standards are the same across all of the financial institutions that have these machines?
Correct. So
what are the standards?
So in April, the BOJ would have published ABM standards, which would have spoken to, availability of cash, maintenance of the machines, deployment of machines. So if you want to remove an ABM, you should get BOJ notice and reason. The display and availability of fees. It spoke to, information where you could find
Display of fees where? Inside the...
not necessarily inside the ABM, but it's you on the website or you go in the bank, you're supposed to find information very easily, and it should be very transparent. Also it spoke to fraud minimization, where relevant, installing RAMs or other, accessories to assist to the elderly and disabled. So it's a wide range of standards. The problem that has arisen in a sense is you have a 9-month window, so the standards are supposed to come into effect next month, which will be January 2025. However, some banks, would have been taking longer because it have had the effect of burial. So some banks, would have had to recalibrate their systems, potentially order new ABMs to meet the end of life of some of their current ABMs. So lots of factors.
Yep. Sorry to jump in, but you said these standards won't come in until January. Were there not standards before this?
So for context, although the banks are regulated, we didn't necessarily have certain regulations on minimum conditions. So the banks would have, had their own standards or policies, but there was no wide-ranging, standard by a regulator to say, hey, this is what you need to do to make sure the consumer can get the services that they need, because everybody talks about the complaints with ABMs. You go there, either the deposit function isn't working, machine probably run out of cash, or
the ABM is not working, or you reach it functions. The actual machine is down.
Yep. I went to one this morning.
The machine is down.
Yeah, I went to one this morning. It just said out of service. That's all it said.
I mean, how many times have we gone into stores and you reach the
point of sale?
and it says machine is down.
Yep.
So there are several factors that can affect that. So for example, theft and attacks on ABMs, so for example, a person's actually trying to steal the machines, and that reduces the number of ABMs in the space. Sometimes there might be a software issue, and other times it can also be the connection issue. So you have to remember the ABMs rely on the backbone, whether it be flow, digital, whatever network they're using. If that system or network is shoddy or impacted, then you're going to have, the ABMs systems, kick in to say, hey, we shouldn't deploy any cash out because we can't verify registration checks.
I find it so interesting that the banks have been allowed to formulate their own policies with no high-level oversight or accountability to a central organization.
So the reality is we have not done enough, in my opinion, over several years to really protect the consumer on certain issues, because the reality is, although most banks will say, hey, 90% of their transactions are digital, the reality is transactions in general in Jamaican context are done with cash. 80% of their transactions are still done with cash. So all the bank persons might be using their cars and everything. You go to the fruit man on the roadside, pay with cash. Get a bag juice, pay with cash. So having availability of cash is very important.
Yeah.
So we probably just seen the story in Observer last week. So let me give some context. So there isn't a $5,000 banknote shortage. However, there is a shortage of $5,000 notes with respect to ABMs. So there's a difference in that. So if you go into the bank and withdraw cash, let's say $10,000, you might likely get two $5,000 notes. But in recent times, within the last 2 weeks, you go to the ABMs, try to withdraw, let's say $10,000. Instead of getting two $5,000 notes, you're getting probably five $2,000 notes. And that's a problem because instead of having two large denominations, you're given now multiple small denominations. And that can be a problem for the banks because the ABMs are going to end up running out a little bit quicker than they should.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. So if you go to the bank and draw the $500 notes, for whatever you want, you're likely to get it because the banks have their storage and reserves and they coordinate their cash. But if you go to the ABM now, that's a problem.
Yep. I want to piggyback on a question Simone just asked about, well, what she said about the banks can kind of do what they want. What happens if they don't do what the BOJ said? Well, I think I remember reading, I didn't know it is not coming in until Jan, but I remember reading that they say you can't be without cash for, say, for an hour or 2 hours.
The machine?
Yeah, the machine.
So
that was part of the deal. So what happens if that doesn't happen? The BOJ, them get fined, and what happens?
This is Jamaica. I say that with preface to say that there are no pecuniary fines or monetary fines for not meeting the standards. However, it can be a negative impact for the BOJ's assessment of your conduct as an institution. So you wouldn't want to go against the BOJ's policies and, be seen negatively by the regulator. But for context, with the ABM standards, right? So you have 3 specific defined regions in the standards, and every end of month, the BOJ publishes the ABM reports for the different banks and for the different regions. So KMA, Kingston, and St. Andrew, that's one region. Other urban, St. Catherine, St. Anne, St. James, and everywhere else is rural.
Are those reports public?
Yeah, it's public on the BOJ's website, and at the end of every month, it's published in both the Observer and the Gleaner. Mm-hmm. So you can actually check for yourself, go on the website, and the BOJ actually breaks it up by parish and which bank, and it tells you how many ABMs are installed. So at the end of September, it was 899 ABMs. How many are in operation, though? That was 844. So 55 ABMs are being installed, one not in operation.
Yep. You laughed when I asked the question about consequences, but are there any consequences?
No, there are consequences, but it's not like you're going to have any financial consequences, more so on standards.
So what happens? So if I go to the same ABM every day and it's not working, and I report this, or, well, someone should know that it's not working, what happens? Nothing?
The BOJ will coordinate, on how they deal with the institution, but the reality is it's a first step, and I don't think it's a perfect policy, but at the same time, it's a step in the right direction because it is not right that the consumer, has to face this consequence because, for example, persons say, persons go to the ABM to get cash to go to work. If the ABM, let's say it's Portmore, for example, and you cannot get any cash, you cannot go to work. It sounds ridiculous because you go to 5 different ABMs trying to withdraw cash.
You can't go through the toll.
Not toll. You can't go to the coaster, can't go to the busman, you can't pull it as a busman, it's a card here. No, that's just the reality of Jamaica. And, in the last 2 weeks, I've gone to a particular bank's ABMs, 2 different ABMs, 2 different days, 2 different locations. And on a normal day, you would see 100,000 Jamaican dollars as a daily withdrawal limit. I tried 2 times last week in 2 different locations and 2 different days. It's also $40,000.
40?
Yes.
So they changed it without advisory?
I just went and saw the limit and I'm like, wait, when did this change? And the thing is, that's with a particular bank. I probably can go to another bank and try and withdraw more to another ABM for another bank, but that bank's...
How are we doing with these recovery times, David? Can we speak to that a little bit? So the machine is down, standard. Which banks are doing the best in terms of recovery times?
I can't remember off the bat, but it depends also on the region because if you're to aggregate all the banks, nobody's really reaching the recovery time average as it should because each region has its own defined standards. So, for example, you might find that First Global Bank in the other rural...
KMA has the shortest recovery time, First Global Bank. Longest recovery time, Sagicor Bank. Average recovery time for all the other banks, 2.9 hours. That's the time that they get it fixed from the time that they hear it's down?
Well, not necessarily fixed alone, but remember, you also have to account for the availability of cash and operation as well. So the uptime is operations, but with respect to recovery, say uptime, which is one factor or one standard, you have recovery time to actually get the cash back into the ATM for persons to use. So,
Man,
all right.
We have a lot of work to do is what we're saying.
It's a whole lot of work, and it's unfortunate that, during the Christmas season when persons need the cash, that it's kind of short. And although we have technology as an alternative solution, there is another constraint, which is, for one, you go to a Fontana or you go to a progressive grocer, they say, hey, no contactless wallets with your mobile phone. Then, some places say, hey, you can only insert your card, you can't tap. So technology alternatives are there, but at the same time, if the network is down, so 2 weeks ago, Flow was attacked, systems were attacked, New Kingston was down, unable to process transactions in that vicinity. So
what does
the alternatives are there,
do?
but the consumer is basically stuck.
Thanks for coming.
But hopefully, come when these regulations come in place? These
Well,
standards, which
they'll
should
take
be-
effect next month, but the banks already has to make processes or plans ahead of time.
Hopefully, when they take effect, we'll see some developments.
Hopefully.
Positive. David does not look. David.
All the best, David.
I'm realistic.
David no look hopeful. Okay, independent analyst, business writer, David Rose. Our fun stop is next. Stay with us for that. David, you don't look like you're thinking.
You know, yeah.